It started with the simplest gesture, one that shouldn't have meant anything, one that shouldn't have ignited a fire I couldn't extinguish. His hand brushed against mine, almost by accident, but when our fingers touched, he didn't pull away. And neither did I. I remember the music pounding around us, the crowd laughing and swaying at the festival, but it all blurred into the background. All I could feel was the warmth of his skin, the firm grip of his fingers as they intertwined with mine. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. A friendly touch, a moment of closeness brought on by the festive atmosphere. But deep down, I knew better. I felt it, that undeniable pull, the electricity sparking between us. And the most dangerous part? I didn't want to let go. He was my friend's husband, her perfect, charming, always so considerate husband. I had watched their love story unfold from the sidelines, smiling and cheering them on, never imagining for a second that I would ever stand on the edges of something so forbidden. Yet here I was, my heart pounding, my breath hitching as his hand tightened around mine. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low and filled with concern. His eyes searched mine, and for a moment, I forgot where I was, who I was. I nodded quickly, hoping he wouldn't see the chaos swirling inside me. But he must have, because his gaze softened, and he didn't let go. I should have pulled away then. I should have laughed it off, made an excuse, anything to break the spell that was wrapping itself around us. But instead, I let myself fall deeper. It was just a handhold, I told myself. Just a moment. It didn't have to mean anything. But it did. Oh, it did. The festival was in full swing, colorful lights dancing in the dark, laughter and music blending into a symphony of celebration. Yet, for me, the world had narrowed to the space between us, to the weight of his hand in mine. Every glance he gave me, every subtle brush of his thumb against my skin, felt like a confession, a silent acknowledgement of something we both knew we shouldn't feel. I glanced around, half expecting someone to notice, to call us out. But no one did. My friend was off with another group, her laughter ringing out in the distance. She trusted me. She trusted him. And that trust made the guilt gnaw at my chest. But it wasn't enough to make me let go. We walked through the crowd, our hands still clasped, and the more steps we took, the harder it became to think clearly. "This is crazy," I muttered, half to myself, half to him. He glanced at me, a small, almost sad smile playing on his lips. "Maybe," he said, "but it doesn't feel crazy, does it?" His words struck a chord deep within me, one I had tried so hard to silence. It didn't feel crazy. It felt inevitable, like we had been walking toward this moment all along without even realizing it. And that scared me more than anything else. We found a quieter spot, away from the chaos of the festival. The air was cooler here, the sounds muffled, but the tension between us only grew sharper. He finally let go of my hand, but the absence of his touch felt like a loss, a hollow ache I couldn't explain. "We can't do this," I said, my voice trembling. "You know we can't." "I know," he replied, his eyes fixed on mine. "But that doesn't change how I feel." My heart skipped a beat, and I took a step back, as if putting distance between us could somehow erase the feelings swirling inside me. "This isn't right," I whispered. "She's my friend. You're her husband. And you're her best friend," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of guilt and longing. "I know how this looks. I know what you must think of me, but I can't pretend anymore. I can't pretend that I don't feel this connection, that I don't see you in a way I've never seen anyone else." His words hit me like a tidal wave, leaving me breathless and unsteady. I wanted to be angry, to accuse him of betraying her, of dragging me into something I never asked for. But the truth was, I felt it too. That connection he spoke of, that undeniable pull that had been growing stronger with every passing moment. It was there, and it terrified me. "This isn't fair," I said, tears prickling at the corners of my eyes. To her, to you, to me. None of this is fair. I know, he said, his voice breaking. But what do we do? Do we keep lying to ourselves, pretending this doesn't exist? Or do we face it, even if it's just this once? His words hung in the air, heavy with implication. I knew what he was asking, what it would mean if I said yes. It wasn't just about us. It was about everything we stood to lose, the trust we were about to shatter. But it was also about the feelings we couldn't deny, the fire that refused to be extinguished. I turned away, wrapping my arms around myself as if I could shield myself from the storm raging inside me. I can't do this, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I can't be the person who ruins everything. You're not ruining anything, he said, stepping closer. This was broken long before tonight. You didn't cause this. You didn't ask for this. But you're here now, and so am I. And maybe that means something. I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. I don't know what to do, I admitted, my voice cracking. I don't know how to stop feeling this way. He reached out then, his hand brushing against my cheek, and I felt the warmth of his touch once more. It was both a comfort and a curse, a reminder of everything I wanted and everything I couldn't have. Sometimes, he said softly, the hardest thing to do is walk away. But if that's what you need, I'll understand. I looked up at him, my heart breaking under the weight of his words. He was giving me an out, a chance to step back from the edge before it was too late. But as I stared into his eyes, I realized I didn't want to take it. Not yet. Not tonight.